We are very vulnerable to attack from parties with evil intent, using modern tech methods that most don't understand. It could be a foreign state player intent on war. It could be some organization wanting to distract us with social unrest. It could be governments that want us to lose our economic power. In this video, I'm going to give you a few examples that highlight our misunderstanding of advanced technology and social media and how it can be used against us. And this translates to some real dangers to our everyday lives. What is different about this line of attack on us is that it specifically focuses on a vulnerable target population. Are you the one with nothing to hide? If so, then you are the target. Stay tuned. I'm on the platform Odyssey.com, and now I'm one of the top creators on there. Just for insurance, in case I get the platform, please follow me there using the link in the description. I have a VPN service, a non-logging VPN called Bytes VPN. My company also sells de-Googled phones and VPN routers. These products are made to make your identity disappear on the internet. And hopefully this video will explain why these products are important for hiding your identity. If you're interested in them, they are on my app, BraxMe. The link is in the description. I'm going to tell you a few stories, but just so we're clear, none of these stories are real, though they're based on real technology today. Jose Gonzalez is very active on social media. He's on all of them. He's also a prolific poster and has an in-your-face style when he confronts people who don't believe the way he does. Jose is ex-army and has an intense belief in his Second Amendment rights. Living in California, he is very angry at the moves by the state government to limit his gun ownership rights. He's especially upset because in the last couple of weeks, he's seen a lot of anti-gun rhetoric from politicians, and recent gun violence has been in the news. Jose is a prepper and also part of a community of people who are gun enthusiasts, and they train regularly in combat shooting. Today he's on Twitter and he gets shared a post of a video with the president and his cabinet, and the president is coordinating plans for instating martial law because of the recent violence. The video appears to be leaked and not meant for public viewing. In the secret video, the president states his order that guns will be confiscated and an announcement will be made shortly. The secrecy of the planned move upsets Joe, and this is the first time the word confiscation has ever been mentioned, although he has always feared that. That's unconstitutional, says Jose. We need to fight back. Several other tweets appear in his feed and some retweeted by his friends, and all very angry about the video. They all start to create an intense discussion on social media about this event, and the video is shared over and over. In the meantime, someone who appears to be more organized says, "We need to protest and carry our guns since the Constitution is being ignored. We won't let them take away our guns. Show up on Main Street in Santa Monica, California to protest tonight." Bring all your friends, says the poster. Jose shares this on all his social media accounts, and he says to all to show up. In the meantime, James Farrell is a BLM activist, also very aggressive in social media, and makes certain that everyone hears his opinion. He has a lot of followers on Twitter and other social media. Recently, there's been a lot of pushback from pro-police groups, and the blame for police violence against blacks were being passed back to both the black community and the victims who were shot as being at fault. They say it's primarily because of their behavior when encountering police. This triggered James, and he was angrily attacking people who made these statements on social media. Today, James is shocked to see a leaked video shot by a bystander of a black male being beaten to death by police in Santa Monica, California, on Main Street. Apparently it just happened. He and his friends quickly share this on social media over and over. Enough, says James, who visualized the Rodney King beating from close to 30 years prior. He calls for people to fight the police over this repeated injustice. Then another video shows Congresswoman Maxine Waters showing anger at the event and calling for everyone to be up in arms at this new brutality. James is happy at the support. After the intense reaction and sharing on social media, there was a big call on social media to protest, and organizers shared announcements to show up on Main Street in Santa Monica to protest tonight. Everyone just thought the city government was holding back information, and everyone relies on social media. But for James, seeing Maxine Waters meant it had to be real. Then that evening, as people planned to attend both protests at the same location, the grid goes down in Los Angeles, putting people in greater fear. There was a shutdown of information. Now what? You can speculate on what would happen based on the information I just gave you. Something I want to add here, that not only is this a hypothetical scenario, but all the information received by the characters were false. Everything I just said is fake, including the videos. Now, how is this possible? First, let's start with targeting of James Farrell and Jose Gonzalez. Both were profiled based on social media. They were profiled as potential instigators and profiled for influence. Both individuals thought there was increased messaging on their topic of interest in the prior 2 weeks, but they didn't realize that others were not getting the same level of messaging. They were profiled in their own cohorts, Jose in the aggressive gun group and James in the BLM community. This profiling has already been done, and this data is of course in the hands of big tech. But it is also data that can be collected by third-party organizations and foreign government. As I showed in another video on manipulated Google search, there are entities like Moonshot CVE that have been collecting the identities of cohorts and their exact location for groups like anti-vax people and subgroups of what it calls violent right-wing extremists. And Moonshot CVE has targeted these groups for alternate messaging, though their specific action is focused on changing search results. But I'm illustrating here that the line of attack could change as long as the data is there. In the US, a company named Palantir is specifically focused on performing this kind of attack, which can be used to cause social unrest, distraction for a military attack, or an attack on a nation's financial system. It can be directed at any country. I'm certain this capability is part of the cyber arsenal of the United States. It would not be too much of a guess to assume that other countries may have formed their own version of Palantir to attack us using our own data. Using techniques called social media amplification, a post on Twitter or Facebook can be reshared and made to trend based on millions of fake accounts called bots. This has been used heavily by governments like Russia and Iran and tested in recent elections. The bot accounts can lie in wait, doing nothing that can cause them to be deleted by Twitter or Facebook, but they wake up when their master puts them to use. So again, a sign of use of sophisticated techniques by a foreign power. This kind of attack is not the same as global messaging that you see on the news. It will succeed because of the intensity of the focus of the messaging to fit an individual. In the scenario, I'm drawing on the reactions of one individual, but there could be tens of thousands of people getting different targeted messages depending on what is known to trigger them. The act of sharing a post is particularly important behavior. The targeted party needs to be the type that cannot keep anything to himself. He has to share. This requires a sophisticated personality profile of each person, something that was already developed in social media before 2016 by Cambridge Analytica, based on accumulated data from Facebook. That personality modeling included classification of introverts versus extroverts and malleability to new ideas and so on. Even the person who created the model for Cambridge Analytica was a scientist from Palantir. The fake videos I mentioned in the example are used to trigger a reaction. Here's an example of the technology being used to change video in real time using a software called Face-to-Face.
Using video footage from the training sequence based on temporal and photometric similarity. As we can see, we are able to generate a realistic and convincing reenactment result. Here we show a close-up of the footage from the previous live reenactment. The input video stream is shown on the left. Note that the target actor is re-rendered in a neutral pose. On the right, we can see the final output of our method. Our system reconstructs and tracks both source and target actors using a dense photometric energy minimization. Using a novel subspace deformation transfer technique, we transfer the expressions from the source to the target actor. This allows us to obtain a modified face template of the target actor according to the expressions of the source actor. We now re-render the modified face on top of the target sequence in order to replace the original.
There are many videos now that can be made using software called deepfake. If done properly by a state level player, for example, it would be extremely hard to tell if a video is real or not, and certainly not in a short period when the fake information is being disseminated. There's an AI program that can learn someone's voice and then can create a deepfake audio of any person and make them sound like the real person, and then make them say anything. One of the best of this technology is Adobe Voco.
Finds in the legal community. I think it's real important.
Here we go. President Barack Obama. When you giving a speech, make sure you use a lot of pauses.
America's businesses have created 14.5 million new jobs over 75 straight months.
We're developing technology. Every technology can be used in some negative way, and so we all should work towards making sure that it's not going to happen.
Maybe Adobe realized the potential danger of this technology because it has not publicly released this software, though it was announced over 4 years ago. But there are other software that can be used to perform the same AI, like Wave2Lip or LipGAN. With these technologies, it will be hard to tell real from fake in a short period of time. It would take a digital forensics expert to tell, and that kind of news can be drowned out in the short term. As far as the shutdown of the grid, hackers have already successfully hacked the grid. This has already been in the news recently. It would be possible for malware to be already in place and be dormant, waiting for the right moment to be used. In this scenario, the grid hack is used to enhance the fear by withholding information and turning off computers. It adds panic. It could have also been simultaneously done with a DDoS attack, distributed denial of service, on the major news network sites, so the level of confusion is at the highest. Let me give you another example. This one is a theoretical wargame attack by China. There was an actual published scenario showing this, but I will just describe something similar. The Yokosuka U.S. Naval Base in Japan hosts the U.S. 7th Fleet, which is responsible for the Western Pacific and Indian Oceans, and of course the biggest threat in the area is China. The commander, a vice admiral, gets a disturbing message about family. Apparently his daughter was in an auto accident. He found this out in an email. He frantically tries to contact everyone, and no one knows details because apparently the daughter does not live at home, and there was a time zone issue. It was in the wee hours of the morning in the US. Needless to say, he is very distracted. There were also some confusing messaging coming from Washington, D.C., but he has no time to think about that right now. All the ship captains also get messages, some from social media and some from emails. Messages including wives wanting a divorce, or being told that their spouse was having an affair, or close relatives passing away, or children getting into deep trouble. Some get messages about financial issues, like liens being attached to their homes and money disappearing from their bank accounts. Similar messages reach most of the officers and important non-commissioned officers of problems in the U.S. with their families. Some get official-looking emails about a potential criminal offense and came from Washington, D.C. In the confusion, the base is not paying attention to local events. In the meantime, a massive fleet of the Chinese Navy then used the opportunity to immediately start an operation to occupy many of the disputed islands in the China Sea. The USA was not ready to respond and was left with no choice but to forgo any military action. Once again, social media can be used to learn about personal details on each person. In this case, an additional profiling was done based on employment with the US Navy. I'm sure all these people would have stated that they had nothing to hide and they do not post military activities on social media. But as you can see, for use as a distraction, it is not necessary to know about their jobs, just what their titles are and information about their family. This kind of attack is generally called spear phishing, which is a targeted phishing attack. And the collection of information about each person is called doxing. But of course, this example is spear phishing done in a massive way, simultaneously attacking many people at once. And like the prior threat, this could have been done together with many other cyber attacks on the infrastructure to cause even more confusion, especially targeting communications. Let me give you another example that applies to average people. You get an email from your bank, Wells Fargo. The email says, "Please contact us immediately regarding transactions on your account." Then you click on the link provided and you get a phone number you're supposed to call. You make the phone call to your bank and an agent answers, "Mr. Smith, this is Wells Fargo Bank. We detected a possible fraud on your debit card and we want to send you a replacement card." "Oh, really? Oh, okay. Better be safe then. Go ahead and send it to me." "Sir, first, we need to verify your information. Is your full name Alton Jeremiah Smith?" Yes, that's correct." "Good. Sir, is your address 5658 Division Street, Waukesha, Wisconsin?" Yes, that's correct. Does your credit card number end in 2768? "Yes, that's correct. Were you born in 1972? "Yes, that's correct." "Is your wife's name Linda Smith?" "Yes, correct." At this point, the agent has given you so much information that you're confident that this is a legit message from the bank. "Okay, sir, looks like we're good to go. We'll be sending the new debit card to 5658 Division Street, Waukesha, Wisconsin by FedEx, so you should receive it tomorrow." "Oh, one final thing. We need to transfer your PIN code to the new card. Could you give me your PIN code, please?" Okay, my PIN is... Now, someone like me would know some facts. First of all of the information that was just given back to me is commonly available on sites like Axiom, Intellius, and Spokeo. The actual credit card number could have come from any retail store that has access to credit card numbers, like a restaurant. This simple kind of spear phishing attack is even difficult for most people to spot, and it happens every day. All of these attacks used for manipulating a population, a war tactic, or targeting an individual for a scam is generally called social engineering. And this has gotten so sophisticated now, and yet the general population does not see how it can be manipulated, all based on being profiled on the internet. The amount of information known about many of you is much more than you think. Your locations are tracked, your internet searches are known, your relationships and contacts are all mapped. The point of this explanation I'm giving you is that claiming you have nothing to hide is really a stupid statement in today's world. There are bad people out there, nation states, foreign organizations, and scammers, all intending to take advantage of all of you. Whether the goal is to generate social unrest, cause a distraction for a military attack, or just for financial gain, the danger applies to those who do not care and allow themselves to be profiled. The average person is told that the main effect of your data being openly known is that someone might try to sell you something. So the common reaction of the populace is, "Okay, I can live with that. They're giving me stuff for free." The problem is that people's understanding of the importance of the data about each and every one of us is minuscule. Attacking a single person with this information may not result in much, but attacking a large population and then having a call to action is a dangerous ratcheting of risk. It should be plain to see that the type of disinformation attack to disrupt a city in my first story would only work on particular types of people, those with nothing to hide, those that share their entire lives and their identity openly on social media, because this attack requires specific targeting. People like me that do everything to keep myself from being profiled on the internet will not get a message. They will not know what message to give me. Or at best, they will give me an incorrect message, which I will immediately know is fake because it would be opposite what I believe. In other words, the more privacy conscious you are, the more this kind of attack does not work. The more privacy-focused individuals exist, the less chances of success for these kinds of attacks. As I mentioned earlier, there are actual organizations that are focused on disinformation. You will find these techniques used in every war. Extensive stories can be found about the disinformation campaign used to disguise the location of the target on D-Day on June 1944. Again, during World War II, Tokyo Rose on the radio would try to diminish the morale of Allied forces by specifically mentioning commanders by name. During the Cold War, the shortwave stations blasted out news that can be heard in countries with repressive anti-democratic governments like China, Russia, and North Korea. One of those stations is the US government-funded Voice of America. This stuff in the past is about general messaging, but the idea of personal targeting is only possible in social media today. The reality is that nowadays it is even possible that an extensive discussion on the internet could have occurred with a bot that was intent on learning about a person's point of view. We have come a long way from Tokyo Roads and Voice of America. The capabilities and ability to cause a reaction in the populace is being honed. Now, I've said this repeatedly in my many videos. The privacy defense is made up of two parts. There's the actual data that you're showing, your thoughts, ideas, opinions, fears, and discrete data like locations, financial transactions, income levels, and so on. Those are very difficult to hide, but you can try. The second part of the privacy issue is the most important, and it is identity. The targeting of messages is only possible if your data can be tied to a specific person. In today's tech, the identity issue is quickly solved by several identifiers such as the IP address, the exact home location, email, phone number, and the device fingerprint. All of these identifiers are collected in tandem, and knowledge of any of these can quickly point to a specific person. Your data is stored by indexing them with an identity. If the identity cannot be definitely known, then the data has to be discarded because it can no longer be useful. Since it is very hard to eliminate the leak of data from our smartphones and social media activities, the main defense to prevent the attacks I mentioned here is really to obscure your internet identity. So you will find this common theme in all my discussions of how to defend against this new kind of threat. I hope you find my videos of value. If you do, please hit that subscribe button, the notification bell, so you get more of this content. You can support the cause by joining us on Patreon or checking out our VPN and Google phones and VPN routers in my store. Thank you for watching. See you later.